fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back to Star Trek Fleet Command, and very rarely does an epic officer come into Star Trek Fleet Command that at tier 1 will literally change your game for the positive. It doesn't happen often, so I want to talk about Gwen Demarco. Now, for those who follow the streams quite often, you've heard us talk about how powerful she can be, but this video is going to give a static form, short, sweet, concise, succinct, all those different synonyms, and no fluff. Just straight up, let's show you how good she is, why she's good, and why you should be going after the free-to-play path for her if you haven't been already. We'll show you that in today's video. So number one, let's talk abilities. What does Gwen Demarco do? Well, as of her coming out, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, hard to see this flipping, she is one of the strongest officers in the game. And again, to reiterate the original point, she's one of the ones immediately strong. I'm going to show you a couple examples. So you have an officer ability. I have one job. Gwen Demarco increases isolated cascade damage against armadas and invading entities by 70% at tier 1. This maxes out at 150%. Remember, and as it says here in the descriptor, isolated cascade is a multiplier of your total damage, including ISO damage. So think of it the way that critical damage multiplies your standard damage. ISO is kind of doing that from the realm of ISO. So very powerful. We'll show you a log of what that looks like. And then below Dex, so you had a PvE, now you have a PvP. Gwen Demarco increases isolated cascades damage in PvP when the enemy player has any state, assimilate, hull breach, or burning. So guess if they gave themselves morale, that counts too. Isolated cascade, 30%, maxing out at 80. And these are quite nice. I mean, they're very impactful. Now, if you want to know what the entire, like, going through the one by one, tier by tier, of course, here are the numbers from STFC.space. You can see for yourself. Going in what I feel like is already a very strong officer, but tier by tier getting even better. Where I was talking to one of our free-to-plays who was at 39, who had made over 40 million power, and they have made it into the 40s, and they're close to tier 2 on Gwen Demarco. So yeah, very strong officer. But let's look at some visual examples to explain the hows and the whys, and I'm going to use that in a couple of different ways. Number one, let's use some of the new content that we know is out and is difficult. Players have talked about how difficult these new armadas are with the Revenant, right? And I'm going to take on some point 1. So here's an example of a point 1 using Chakotay, Miles, Janeway. Clearly I won. So a solid example of this system working. Why am I using this? Well, real quick to explain, I'm taking advantage of Chakotay and Miles O'Brien providing more shots, as well as Chakotay providing critical hits, and then Janeway is providing isolated cascade right there. So 15%. So what's the difference between this and well, in my opinion, one of the best officers in the game, Gwen Demarco? Keep in mind that I don't have a max Janeway, but even if I did, Gwen Demarco is going to be numerically likely superior. But to give you a visual example, we go from that battle log to this battle log. All that was changed was Gwen Demarco was added, and I can now pull off 2 of these, whereas before I barely pulled off 1. And again, this is only changing one simple thing, adding a tier 1 officer. Now, always I try to stress this point. A singular set of battle logs is not necessarily the greatest indicator of how good things are. I was actually having this conversation with one of our level 64s, and it's true. Whether you're G3, G4, G5, the game experience can be a little bit different. But the neat thing about Gwen Demarco is she is a massive boost regardless because of how she works. And also, thank you, Scopely, for the wonderful graphic errors during this Christmas season. But with Isolated Cascade, the main thing you're trying to do is you're multiplying this right here, your ISO damage, which can be affected by things like, if you've done your star charts research, having hull breach, burning, morale, what artifacts you have active, etc. Not to mention all the research that's available, but the Cascade is creating multipliers based on that. Hence the upward progression to allow you to punch things that are generally much higher than you normally would go after. And just to show another battle log, just for, laugh's sake, while I love the shot mechanic, here's me getting rid of Miles and still including Gwen, losing slightly. But again, you can see the power of ISO Cascade. But what about in PvP? Well, I can show you that as well. Here's Space Lord hitting me. And yeah, I'm able to win and take a little bit of damage. But you can also see some similar fights that we were doing earlier where I did have her available. See the Space Lord one right here. See, was that Gwen Demarco? See, no Gwen Demarco there. but let's find one that has Gwen. We had a couple of other highs that were hitting. For example, Seymour Jingle Bells, or Jingle Butts, great name, by the way, having some nice ISO cascade from them, but also you'll see more from Gwen, where you'll see this number getting higher when you have Gwen Demarco giving a boost. So right there, Gwen Demarco giving more of that punch up. Now, it's harder to see in this PvP example because I also have 7 of 9 included. However, you will notice the overall numbers that you're hitting with being higher. See this one taking very little damage, but if you scroll, especially to round 3 with the Vidar, that's where you're gonna see that nice big shot, and you can see something like this, where my standard damage is 2 million, but my ISO putting out 13.5 million. Compare that to what his Vidar is doing at 6.1. This is where you're starting to see things like the power of Gwen Demarco in PvP battles, and that's the unique and neat thing, is she's a below deck officer. So this is a good example visually to showing you how much this can multiply your damage and your shots in PvP. Now, I talked about there being a free-to-play mechanic. Let's bring that up. Let's show the free-to-play mechanics so everybody is aware of it. Now, I unlocked Gwen Demarco because I saw this SMS and went, this is more valuable than anything that they run on weekends. Any leaderboards, don't really care about Soren, but this has Phlox, and hidden behind Phlox is Gwen Demarco. I went after Gwen Demarco shards here, not even really the holiday loot, but there is sourcing every month. And just to go ahead and reiterate to Scopely, and this is when I want the community to comment down below if you agree. Scopely, you were consistently running this event 2 times a month. I'm speaking of Galactic Invasions. Please go back to doing that consistently because that is Gwen Demarco's sourcing. So Ceres Invasion, if you're doing this, this is open even to lower levels. My level 25 technically has some of these events. You're wanting to run through these, and through those, collecting various loot, which you can see the Fatu Cray eye patches, which is what you're going to need to go after Gwen. But as you can see, you also get more shards if your server completes the IMS. So very important for you to encourage everybody on your server to do it, even if it is slow sourcing. So with that, you're going to go into the event store, and you're going to come into the Invasion store, and there's Gwen Demarco here. It is 10,000 Fatu Cray scraps per shard. So you would want to dump into that. Now, I've talked before going after Galactic Acclaims as well, which I still do like, but I'm not going to go after and max out Galactic Acclaims for my Vorcha versus unlocking Gwen Demarco. I might get a couple for Galactic Acclaim, but I'm going to go after Gwen Demarco shards because she's so valuable. And I've been doing it slowly, hence why this video has taken time to come out, but everybody should be focusing on that. Also, one of the reasons that I talk about going after the Armadas and getting it up to do this box, because it has Gwen Demarco sourcing. And even if you get a small chance at the 10, it is that valuable and that worth it. Absolutely something to focus on. Of course, you can also get the Galactic Acclaims. Gwen Demarco is hands down one of the strongest officers in this game, available in both PvP and an Armada/PvE situation. I mean, Armadas being a PvE mechanic. It's one of those officers that you should all try to get, whether you're a paid player or a free-to-play. In whatever tier, you're going to see an improvement in your gameplay. So if you're watching this right now and saying, hey, I've been debating, should I go after that leaderboard? Well, what's an SMS rather? That's up to you. I'm not really want to tell you how to spend your mats, but I would tell you in terms of value of what you're getting. If you're close to unlocking her, absolutely go after. If you're close to tiering her up, yeah, absolutely worth it. Because the ability to take this, and remember, she works against not only regular Armadas, but Chimeras, which normally Chimeras are not affected by Armada officers, which many of you probably remember, making her even stronger for that, allowing you to punch up in those situations. For me, I'm running Dejas, Torah, Toli, and Gwen Demarco when I'm fighting those hostiles. So that's actually on my Vorcha, I would have Gwen Demarco right here running to go fight Chimeras. So lots of things you can do to make yourself stronger and more capable against these Armadas and against various players. This is one of the offers allowing you to do that. Again, would recommend you going after. If you enjoyed the video, as always, I ask the simple things. Like the video if you haven't already. Join the Discord if you haven't already. And for those here during the Christmas season, we do have a 15% off coupon on our website. Again, merch is always nice. You don't have to get it, but if you go to revdeuce.com, link in the description below, use the code Christmas, you get 15% off your entire order. That's just so we can have neat things that we share together. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Live long and plunder. Stay safe out there, Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. If you have any questions, of course, drop them down below or contact me on Discord, Facebook, Twitter/X, however you want to contact me, and I'll try to help you out. Love you. Appreciate y'all. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Hope you're having a wonderful time, and I will see you on the next video.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.